Now, I think it would be most important for you to start to flex that sensory acuity muscle. Okay? Sensory acuity is what marked Milton Erickson as an outstanding therapist in relation to many others. He could become acutely aware of the tiniest physiological shifts in his clients. So when their state changed, he was aware of it. He observed patterns of behavior. Okay? So he was aware of when a client moved one foot just slightly to the side like that. He made sure not to miss it. And each time he would say something, and in relation to what he'd say, the client would do a certain something with their body, he knew there was a state change. Because that's how the unconscious mind communicates state changes, through physiological shifts. If I'm asking you questions, your unconscious mind's responding all the time. Okay? It might just be the shaking of a foot, or the wiggling of a pen, or something like that. But in relation to what I'm asking, when I ask certain questions, and then suddenly the pen moves, or the foot goes, or the eye twitch, or the sigh, or the... I'm careful not to assume what it means at first. But when I see a pattern in it, I start to identify how my client's unconscious mind is communicating to me. In realizing that 93% of our communication is unconscious. Ray Birdwhistle, in 1970, did a study called Science and Kinesics. And he, as a result of that study, tells us, and the NLP world has bought into this, that 55%, well, first of all, 93% of our communication is unconscious. 55% of what I'm communicating to you right now is what I'm doing with my body. My physiology will determine 55% of the meaning you are giving my communication. And 38% is not my words, but the way in which I use my words. Okay? The structure of my words, the tone, the timbre, the pitch, the volume, the pauses or lack thereof. Okay? The quality of my words. 38%, roughly, of the meaning you will give my communication is based on that. And a measly little 7% is the actual content. All right? Which means your clients are communicating to you with their unconscious minds much more than the conscious little bit of awareness. They'll come to you and they'll think that they know why they're there to see you. They'll tell you what their problem is according to their conscious mind, and they'll use the words to define that. Meanwhile, their unconscious minds may be communicating something completely different to you. Okay? And you will see it through their physiology and the way they use their words. And when you can calibrate to the unconscious communication from your clients, which was Erickson's genius, you will be able to elicit exactly what the real reason is that they've come to see you in the first minute of the session. Bold statements. But in the first minute of sitting down, through being in a heightened state of receptivity and building rapport, the real underpinning reason why they've come to see you will be communicated through the way in which they sit, the way they move their body, their position, and the sounds or lack thereof that they make. And they've not even said a word. Or they say something, but you're able to pick up much more. The question is, are you reading it accurately? Let's notice what your level of sensory acuity is like now and after you've learned peripheral vision. Did you know that 93% of what you communicate is unconscious? You want to be able to calibrate to that via their little movements and gestures. In NLP, we never assume this means he's blocked off. No. So what are you actually going to pay attention to? We always calibrate to patterns of behavior. Erickson was the master at eliciting unconscious communication, so much so that people thought he was psychic. They thought he was an intuitive of note, and he was. But that's only because he had trained to read microscopic changes in people. And he noticed that over time and associated it to the various things relative to the content that they were talking about. But what he calibrated to were the shifts in their physiology and in the way that they communicated verbally, including the pauses and the breath. And anyone can see the overt things like the watering eyes and the real blushing. These things are easy. We shouldn't take them for granted, but we should also notice things that are more subtle. That was Erickson's genius. When he was young and diagnosed with polio, and through self-hypnosis, before he even knew what self-hypnosis is, cured himself of practically all the symptoms associated with the polio. He used to listen out for the way in which the footsteps approaching his bedroom sounded, and he was able to tell exactly what mood the person was in based on the quality of their footsteps. He didn't one day hear loud footsteps and thought, oh, here comes an angry person. No, he paid attention to the patterns over time and started to make the associations between gestures and sounds, because those tell us more than the words. And in that was able to identify how unconscious minds communicate. So in NLP, we become pattern detectives. And we notice patterns of behavior which inform us a lot more about what's going on inside the person than their words do. Okay, so let's start to practice that new muscle. How can we begin to get good at calibrating to minor shifts? I'd like you to take a mental picture of me. That's great. I didn't even say put your... Oh, you've got them well oiled. Okay. Okay. Simple exercise. Any child can do this, and they usually enjoy it. I'd like you to please take a mental picture of me. And a mental picture means just kind of have a look. And when you've had a look and you've identified how I'm sitting, then close your eyes for a moment. This is not an hypnotic induction, unless you want it to be. And when your eyes are closed, I'll know you're ready, because then what I'm going to do is I will move something, and then I'll ask you to open your eyes, and I'm going to ask you what has changed about my physiology. Okay? So those of you who haven't yet closed your eyes, take your mental picture, then close your eyes. Everybody keep your eyes closed until everyone's eyes are closed. Then I'll have an opportunity to move something. Okay, now you can open your eyes. And what has changed about my physiology, besides the fact that my head's moving and my mouth is moving? My right hand. That's called playing nicely. I'm being too nice to you. Okay, that was pretty obvious. Did you all see? I went from that to that. Okay, all right. Let's try that again. Take one more mental picture. If you missed it, then pay careful attention next time. Okay, mental picture, then close your eyes. Okay, open your eyes. What has changed?
My son. Can I tell?
Please?
Stomach.
My stomach has changed. Okay, you're seeing a side profile. What about it? It's pulled in. Okay, that's the result of something else. You're right. It is probably pulled in. My abs are tightening as a result of the primary thing that I'm doing, which is something else. How come you feel the need to move right there? Well, that's interesting. How come you feel the need to move? What did you feel that made you want to move? A stiff, where? Okay.
But why do you ask us? Because now you are telling me that you moved to your right hand side.
I moved to my right?
Yeah.
Maybe now, because I'm leaning to you to talk. Well, because I'm talking, it's moving around. Can't help it. There's something else primarily that I've done. I'm still doing it. It's starting to hurt. My back has gone stiff, but it's also the result of the other thing.
Well, you're clenching your butt or something.
But that's right. Why are you watching my butt?
indications you gave us
But okay.
indicate some kind of discovery in the area that we might not be totally aware of.
But okay, you have a better view. That's all I did, is I just clenched my buttocks and my hamstrings. And it straightened me up, and you're seeing the straightening effect. We definitely want to be able to calibrate your clients tensing up, don't we? Okay. All right, that's still playing nicely. Let's do this a third time. Take your mental picture. And then close your eyes. And open. Who's not seeing it yet? Okay. Clenching of jaw. Okay. But really I'm not playing nicely because I haven't given you the main trick to being able to calibrate to find distinctions yet. Okay. But well done, not bad. Now I would like to teach you peripheral vision, which not only does it open the aperture of your visual awareness, you will, as I guide you through this process, notice other things with regards to your other senses also. More specifically in this context, because we're not at the dinner table where your gustatory and olfactory senses are also going to be enhanced, but more specifically, I'd like you to pay attention to what you notice differently auditorily as well as kinesthetically, feeling-wise, while I teach you a visual technique. It has an effect on all your senses, and I don't want to tell you at this stage what that effect is, because I'd like you to find out for yourself. And when we teach this to coaches, a lot of professional coaches come on our coach training because ours is a specialization that's more dealing with the unconscious processes. And they usually, professional coaches, aren't able to see more than 4 clients a day because they're completely exhausted at the end of the session. And that's because they're trying to do everything following this cognitive, thought about, rational, linear process that's exhausting. But when they learn this skill, suddenly the sessions become effortless and more enjoyable. And they're more effective as coaches. And I think the same thing would apply to you folks as hypnotherapists. Now here's the thing. In any situation, as in a training one like this, but also out there in real life, you're not sure and you have to take a guess, go with the first impulse that comes up. You don't have to think about, now what was it, did I see this? No, you don't, forget about analyzing it. Go with the first spontaneous impulsive guess. Because believe me, it'll be a highly informed guess. Because your unconscious mind has most certainly picked up. It's just that you haven't quite got it up from your own unconscious yet. Okay? And that's where your guesses become accurate and you surprise yourself and go, wow, I've never had such lucky guesses. All right? But your guess is always to be checked with the client. Is it in fact that? We never entertain our guesses and move on based only on that information. So sensory acuity is a vital skill when it comes to being good at NLP.